From the southernmost point of Dorne to the lands of always winter, to what is west of Westeros and the shadows in the east, this is Casterly Talk. I'm Cat Knapsack, and we are getting back to the rewatches here. We're working our way slowly, I'll admit, through season 4. Not a reflection of the season, of course, just on the schedule. We've been having a lot of fun talking news with Alden Diaz in the last couple episodes. Been doing more of that, having fun. Big good news to discuss. George R. R. Martin blog posts to discuss. It's always fun to go through there. But I've been having a lot of fun doing the rewatch, and hope those of you who are, I guess I can't even say keep it up, because it's one episode a month is the pace we're at here. But don't worry, the ultimate goal is to be doing rewatches, doing the news, doing Rings of Power, House of Dragon, all at the same time. And you can help make that happen by making sure you're giving the podcast a listen, maybe a share if you see it tweeted out from our Morning Drive Media company account, or if you're watching on the YouTube side, give us a subscription. Ring that bell, get the notifications, but more importantly, just be part of our community here, where we don't just celebrate Game of Thrones, A Song of Ice and Fire, and all the stories within that world. We also love diving in a little deeper and finding out why all of this truly matters to us. It's why we're here as well. Alden has been, I should say, accompanying us on the news shows. Next week, I'm hoping, or the next rewatch episode, hoping to have Alden and Andres Cabrera join us for The Mountain and the Viper. And that's one of the things, man. We are here today to talk about season 4, episode 7, Mockingbird. Great episode. We're going to dive in, but this is truly a table-setting episode for some giant things to follow. The next 2 episodes, perhaps 2 of my personal favorites in Game of Thrones, and definitely have a big impact on the show and the fandom. So we're gonna get to that, but let's dive in today. Like I said, this is a look at season 4. Episode 7, the 37th overall episode in the show, Mockingbird. Original air date, May 18th, 2014. The director, Alec Sakharov, doing a great job. Cinematographer turned director here with the show. And Benioff and Weiss going down in the credits as the writers here. But we know a lot of people involved with that. The previous episode written by Brian Cogman. Cinematographer, again, is Fabian Wagner. And for this episode, he was nominated for achievements in cinematography by the American Society of Cinematographers. I did not win that award, but interesting. I love that this episode is just shot beautifully, like so many of the episodes of Game of Thrones. Of course, it's definitely have an aesthetic, definitely have a look. This one in particular, particularly some stuff in Winterfell. Not Winterfell, not the stuff in the Eyrie with Sansa dreaming of Winterfell. Were some of my favorite shot scenes here. Editor was Tim Porter for this. As I mentioned up top, we love looking at kind of the overall, have an overall view of the episode here. This is a table setting episode. We don't use that word filler around here, and there's no filler in this episode, but it's a table set. We're a little past the halfway point in the season, well past the 2 episodes past the halfway point, but big things are coming. It's season 4. We all know we're already looking at episode 9. Previous year, the Red Wedding had us going. Then Battle of Blackwater, Ned Stark. Episode 9 is a thing. We're going to get a giant episode 9. But it's fun to realize that this was setting us up for something huge in episode 8 of this season. But in saying that it's a table-setting episode, this is how you table set like a pro then, because it stands up on its own. But when you, it's one of those episodes, I think, when you first saw it, and I do remember having that idea of like, I just want to get to what's next. I just want to get to what's next. And the Oberyn speech at the end of this episode, we're certainly going to be talking about that. That absolutely and that's not even the end of the episode, but that's kind of the, all right, great, cool, can next Sunday come type of thing. So that's kind of where, my memories of this episode, but watching it in rewatches, whether it's this one or the many other rewatches that I've done, this stands out as its own, and it's actually one of my favorite episodes. When you have the ability to just press next episode, play the next one, I think you don't worry about table setting or putting the pieces on the map and the game board, you are enjoying the story. This episode, it should be noted, had 7.2 million viewers upon its first go around. It's up from last episode 6.4 million. As we always talk about, often the numbers for one episode really reflect the reception to the previous episode. And the previous episode, the trial, a lot of stuff going on with Tyrion, had people wondering who is going to stand for him, who will be his champion. And therefore, the 7.2 million viewers was a record at the time for Game of Thrones. As we've said before, this is kind of peak Game of Thrones, where it was the thing in pop culture. They were the kings and queens of Comic-Con, 2014 Comic-Con, which I was there for and covering, and had one of the rare moments where I actually get to go into the cool parties. It doesn't happen a lot for me, but this is the year, and the cast was there, and absolute rock stars. Absolute rock stars. So these kind of numbers make a lot of sense for the show at this point in time. What is this episode known for? Well, two big things. The title of the episode, Mockingbird, of course, referring to Littlefinger. No surprise there, no great insight there. But this episode is definitely remembered for Baelish killing Eliza Arryn at the end of the episode. That is definitely a shoe drop ending, really dramatic, surprising, but also not surprising for Baelish, which was part of the fun of it. Like, is he going to do it? Is he going to do it? Oh, no. Oh, he did. So we'll get to that there. But of course, Oberyn announces that he will stand for Tyrion. And we are going to discuss that as well. But I will say here right now, this is, if you're ranking scenes, and maybe we'll start doing that around these parts on Casterly Talk. I have a lot of fun ranking things and listing our favorite things in Star Wars over on Force Center with Star Wars Ranked. So maybe Casterly Talk, not Casterly Talk Ranked. We'll come up with something else. But I think it's almost getting that time where we can start looking back and putting things in where we feel they should go, or just our favorites. Not a definite list, but all that to say, if I was doing that right now, I think, go with me here, I really think Oberyn standing for Tyrion is a top 10 scene for me. Again, it's a personal list, no science, nothing definite, not your list. It's mine. I really think everything about it, including the lore around it, this being Pedro Pascal's first day of filming. That's amazing to think. Not unusual. Your first day doesn't necessarily mean it's your smallest scene, of course. That's how it works. But to step into this role and to deliver this, and then not to have the scene shows up in the 7th episode, and it is just a rousing, inspiring moment, which of course sets us all up for a lot of heartbreak if you didn't know that was coming. But at this point, and that's the thing for me in my experience, I always share my experience through the show the first time around. By season 4, I had become a book reader and always tried not to be a smug book reader. And what I mean by that is I'd been a book reader by 3 or 4 years at this point. Starting the books after the show began, but this was the first season that I was ahead of it. Had the t-shirts that that didn't happen in the books, and I had my Night of the Laughing Tree t-shirt. I was trying to flex. I don't just watch the show. This character in these beats were some of the first times that I got to act like you don't even know, which is smug and annoying and not necessarily my favorite thing, but I got to enjoy myself a little bit in this season. So yeah, I love this scene. I love that moment, and it is great. But also, I think what this episode should also be known for is some of the best stuff with Arya and the Hound, both in action, both with killing, but the conversations, the injury that the Hound suffers, which allows him just at first the walls are so up, but by kind of sort of necessity, pulling the walls down, so Arya could actually help him. But to get there, there's this wonderful conversation, a connection made. We'll talk about that in themes. I think connection, trust, always a big theme in Game of Thrones, but connection and protection work really well together and sometimes are at odds with each other in these episodes. A lot of fun. Impact on the story. What's the story? How does this episode impact the story and us as an audience? I think a few things. One of them is very personal for me, I'll admit. Big sip of water there. I'm sorry. The new mountain arrives. This is a big one. Half-War Julius Bornson shows on up. The third mountain, Conan Stevens, the first mountain. replaced slash moved on. He went on to the Hobbit trilogy as the lead orc there, and was reading a little bit about that to try to find some of the reasons. Sometimes it's maybe the actor's choice, maybe he was going to move on, maybe who knows. Followed up that, of course, with Ian White, who was a stunt performer, taking over the mountain in season 2. There were castings in Game of Thrones, and there's a lot of them. Are sometimes, in fact, I'd almost say always puzzling. There's a lot of different reasons you might recast, or reasons you might need to recast, to be sure. This season, you got new Darios. That's what's one of the things season 4 is remembered. We know Tommen, that kind of not recasting of young Tom, but also bringing back a performer who was already in the show. A lot of weird decisions, I think. And I'll use the word weird. I don't know the answers to all of them. At the end of the day, doesn't really matter, because I think the recastings always end up working. This one was definitely interesting because you get Bjornsson is so much younger than Rory McCann, and it's not like they even tried to hide that, but you could always justify it by every time we really had seen the mountain before, he's all dressed up in armor. You don't see a ton of his face. But then again, when you look back at season 1 and 2, especially season 2, a taller, thinner mountain sitting there, and at the tables at the meetings with Tywin and all that. It's hard not to notice it. But at the end of the day, this one really works. The visual of Bjornsson, especially standing next to Pedro Pascal, and some behind the scenes photos they both put out into the world via social media. I think the recasting does end up working really well for me. It's almost, he's so huge at this time. He's changed the shape of his body since he's kind of retired from the weightlifting world. The change is actually dramatic, but he'll always be that tall. But to see Bjornsson now, it's pretty stunning, man. That is quite a monster, and it works well. I think this episode also, some of the impact on us as the audience, the impact of the story is this. So what I call the rise of Bronn. A lot of people, especially if you go into some of the wikis tracking the rise of Bronn, both in the books, and this is with the Stokesworth stuff in this episode. It takes a lot of stuff in the books. A lot of little details changed, of course. But the Bronn being one of the only characters who kind of keeps moving up the ladder. Chaos is a ladder for Bronn. It kind of comes to almost a fever pitch in here from season 5 on. I will admit I'm a huge, Bronn fan. Jerome Flint's so great, and I love that he gets to go on in the show. It's not that I don't think they didn't have anything for him to do. The decision was made early on, I think as early as season 2, to change a lot of the details about him. The overall, yes, it's going to be the same, but they just gave him more to do in the show. Because why wouldn't you have this wonderful performer who's totally just embodied the role in this amazing, impressive, memorable way? So charismatic, so funny. It works. So all of it just kind of built to here. And then after this, the Dorne stuff and even the stuff, Bronn stuff in season 8 might be, even though I love that season, if you're kind of new around these parts, I'm a big fan of season 8. But the Bronn stuff does stand out as, well, I guess he's still here, and we got to figure out what to do with Bronn. And do they hit a home run with that? Even me, someone who's really positive on season 8 in the show, maybe an RBI single with Bronn versus a home run. But that's another conversation for another day. But this episode really kind of impacts our view on Bronn, along with the decision he makes with Tyrion, but also his continued rise through the land from sellsword now to Lord of Castle Stokesworth, at least in theory and in plan. This impact on the story / us category can go to those little ways, just something we see on the episodes there, or it can get very personal. And this one is this is a personal impact. I hate Dario. Is he a good character? Is he is Michelle Huseman? Is that him? I've never, you know what's funny? He's a great performer. I've seen him in other things. I've never paid attention to really how to properly say his name, which is disrespectful of me, number one, yes. But 2, it's because I hate Dario. And I hate Dario because I am Sir Jorah Mormont in real life and a big fan. Now, I will say this up top. This is a no incel zone. All right. No incels here. Daenerys Targaryen in this episode makes a very, strong decision of what she wants out of Dario, what she wants to do with Dario. And that is not only her decision to make and hers to make alone. I support it, stand by it, and understand it. So none of this is any issues with her as a character or this kind of situation in real life. But it broke my heart. It absolutely broke my heart. And it wasn't even she makes Dario take his pants off. Again, good on you, Queen. Do what you want to do. All good. All good. It's a Friday night. You're drinking wine. Go for it. It was that scene on the stairs in the morning. Dear God, it's a great little scene. She's in a good mood. Oh my God. And George is kind of putting the head down. It's not even that he thinks he lost or that he thinks he even had a chance. I don't think that's what's in Jorah's mind. It's just, I got this love for her. What can I do? I can only put into different kind of energies and focuses with her. And that's what this scene is about. That's what this scene is about. You can't overlook Daenerys and what she sees in Jorah versus what she gets out of Dario. I think she has some real feelings for Dario. I think Dario, as much as I don't like him, is a very interesting character. Seeing Dany for who she is, you're a conqueror, Daenerys. That's basically what he'll say to her later on as she heads towards Westeros and we part ways with him, which was a moment I celebrated for a lot of these same reasons here. And it's she had I put a lot of value in what she does in these two scenes. I got this with Dario. That's good. I know how to use him. I know where to send him. And then I got something of much more value, which is Jorah's heart, his support, his protection, and our connection, and the trust, and which will be broken and has already been broken at this time, which is an interesting side effect of any kind of the scene when you watch these kind of scenes with Jorah. He's already his heart's in a good place, but he's already crossed lines that even though he moved back over those lines, they're going to get him in the end. You know where it's going. So the rewatch, these scenes even mean more to me, but it is I can't deny it hurt my soul a little bit, that bottom of the stairs scene with Jorah and Dario. It's because that pyramid's so tall. You're walking up those stairs for a long time. There's no elevator to take. No escalator. Maybe there's a dumbwaiter pulley system you can get up fast. An early elevator of the day. I mean, you're trucking those stairs, and you get up those stairs, and there's Dario, morning after, dressing in the hallway. Not a walk of shame at all. A celebratory walk of heroes from Dario there. It just broke my heart. But just like Jorah, I had to accept the reality and work through it. And gentlemen, if you're in that position in life, you better do that as well. Jorah had to accept the reality and take what was given to him here in that situation, which is Daenerys' undying love and trust. Something that he might have already broken. So, all right, I'll try to move on from that. We'll move on from that. I apologize. All right, Arya and look at it, foreshadowing and things with more meaning here. Arya and the Hound. There's some great stuff there. Wonderful conversations. Perhaps some of the best Arya and the Hound stuff. I think we really look at Arya and the Hound as it is the sitcom across the burning remains of Westeros post War of the Five Kings. There's some wonderful moments at the beginning of the season, with getting the needle back from Polliver, the chicken, the horse. There's so many like comedy moments, so many memorable moments of action and violence, and as their connection grows, we're all there. But I think this scene is the heart of it. It is absolutely the heart of it, and there's just more, meaning. Now there's the surface level one that at the end of season 4 we're going to get to. This is Arya and the Hound, and the dying man, and the Hound teaching her where the heart is, and talking about with the dying man, a little bit of justice. Taking him out killing this already dying man. Um, Out of sort of sense of mercy. So you take that and apply it to Arya's sense of justice and mercy for the Hound at the end. Even they have these connecting moments. It is both ugly and beautiful, I think, at the end for me. It's season 4 with Arya not killing him because of what he's done in the past, but also maybe because she doesn't want to. All those wonderful questions when you can try to get into the heads of the characters. So that all this stuff here in this episode just takes on more meaning with each subsequent rewatch for me. And also just hearing Arya talk to the dying man, played by Barry McGovern, more on him a little bit later, and her whole "nothing is just nothing" line, seeing where she's at, knowing where she's going, and building, of course, to her finding value in something towards the end of this run, particularly with the relationship with the Hound. I always talk about the season 8 stuff and the final moments with the Hound and Arya because it's some of my favorite in the show. And from that, you go back and trace their beats along the way and what Arya is learning, what she needs to learn, the value of it. Driven by vengeance, perhaps, but also built on justice. And it's a big theme that always pops up in Game of Thrones, of course. And we're so rooting for her here. And I'm not going to directly equate it to Dany's arc and where she ends up, where Daenerys ends up, and what happens to her. But I think you see some of the stuff. Arya is able to break off and go on a better path and the right path because she had someone like Hound in her corner. The connection that leads to somewhat of a protection for her later on. But these scenes just have a bigger weight, more emotional weight, and that the show is complete for me. And they're just some of Maisie Williams and Rory McCann's best work, I think, is in this episode and in that moment where post the fight with Rorge and Biter, his injury and him opening up. Love it. Absolutely love it. Just kind of foreshadowing stuff on the surface level. Jon Snow's request to block the gate. Even then, in that moment, it didn't seem like a good idea. Just kind of seemed like, let's put a pin in this one. We might be having a rethinking our decisions here, right? Alistair Thorne and Master Builder Yarrick. This doesn't seem like a good idea. Jon knows the lay of the land, so it's fun to rewatch this one and kind of know what is coming just 2 episodes from now. I love the scene with Melisandre in the bathtub. Who doesn't enjoy a good bath after being a part of this wonderful, dirty world there? But then to have Selyse there, it's always awkward. It's an awkward scene. Well played by both of them. One of my favorite lines is, humor's not my strong suit. Yeah, that's true. But this just seeing a lot of foreshadowing here for me of what Melisandre is going to go through and what she might already be going through. This scene is very much about the lies of power that is and what makes power and keeps in line with even things like chaos is a ladder and Varys talking to Tyrion about a very small man can cast a large shadow and power resides where men believes it resides. It's keeping all that stuff in mind. But I can't help but look at it as through the eyes of Melisandre. She has a full understanding in this bathtub scene here of what she does, what she believes. I think she is connected with her purpose. And it's a question of, is she selling lies all the way, all the time? Does she believe any of it? She's very open with Selyse about the potions. This one's that. This one's to make men think this. And she has this great line, a trick that leads them to the truth. So clearly she has no problem with these lies, whether they be telling little jokes or selling the lies of these potions to make men do what not, and that's the thing. That's where I run up against it. It's not making them do what she wants them to do. I think she is in service to the Lord of Light. I think she has that in mind. But it is this idea of I'm telling lies. I'm doing all these horrible things to lead them to the truth. And I wonder if by this point she's already lost her deep belief in all of this. How much of post meeting her in season 2 with Stannis, post the Battle of Blackwater Bay, post season 3? How much of season 4 basically is Melisandre going, I'm just this is the job I have. I believe in Lord of Light. I believe in Stannis, I guess. We're going through it. Again, I'm not saying that as I have an answer for it. I just love watching this scene after spending time with her in season 8 with the big final moments with her life and in season 5 and meeting Jon Snow and what that might do, and then that leading to her doubting everything about what she does and doubting her skills, doubting her beliefs. That's a lot of the season 6 stuff with her. The lies of power. We know now. It's funny. We know she's got the necklace, but in this scene she does not, which a lot of people pointed out. I just, the way I had candidate is she had the necklace nearby, and the necklace has an orb of influence around her. I don't know. I think it was just probably just an oversight. But she's selling lies all the time. So at this point, is she just going through the motions? But the scene does set the scene for what's going to happen, unfortunately, with Shireen and her horrible end. So there's a lot of just surface foreshadowing, and then just realizing that everything she's been doing so far. I mean, the great thing about Melisandre, and even the religion that she is championing here, is, of all the religions in Westeros, this is one of the only ones that seems to work, that seems to have some sort of real power. We all, along with Davos, saw her give birth to a smoke baby demon. So, the old gods and the new, it's the old battle. Which ones are actually true? Which ones actually work? And the Lord of Light and this whole sect, things actually seem to work. So, to have her here kind of go, yeah, it's all been working. She's telling the audience, this is a reveal for us. Everything you've seen me do so far, some of it might be real, some of it might not. It's all in the greater good of serving the Lord of Light, and it just makes me question how much she'd already lost of her beliefs there. Anyways, just ruminations, thoughts. Again, no actual answers there. This is just part of the fun, and this little scene just has more meaning for me now as we go on. So there you go. Also, foreshadowing things more meaning. I mentioned it all already, but Jorah and Dany, and this it's bittersweet again to watch for me. But the way she takes this advice here, and then the way she takes Dario's but pulls that back and follows it with Jorah, but also knowing what Dario sees in her and the truth he sees in her. It's not quite angel and demon on her shoulder. It does kind of work like that for me, but Dario kind of sees what is there, and that is sometimes what Game of Thrones is about for me. It is not about the hope of tomorrow or lessons. It is what is right there, and how do you deal with what is right there. And I think if both these guys had been around her during some of the events, I don't know how close Jon Snow would have gotten to her after the long night battle, the Battle of Winterfell. He was already close. I know that, but Dario would have made it tougher, which is why she kicked him, told him to kick rocks anyways. But it's just, like Jorah pointing out Ned Stark would have killed him if he used your philosophy, is one of those, it's almost like a sick burn moment, but it's just a poignant lesson. A lesson that Dany takes in that moment, but keeps in line, it keeps all of it in line with what she wants to do. Her sending Hizdar with Dario back to Yunkai. Back to not just reconquer and reclaim and free, refree people there. That's part of the mission, but to really try to build a new world. I love the stuff that Dany says here about they can either live in my new world or die in their own. I really understand it, and I get that, and I don't think we're looking at the Dragon Queen here at the end. I think we're looking at someone who has a good view on it. I want to make changes. I'm going to have you make those changes, or you've made that choice to not go forward, and then we'll see what happens. It's a lot different than what she does a little bit later on. Thinking of burning of Randall Tarley comes to mind. That is more of just burning the wheel, breaking it down. So to see, again, we know that was part of the point. The people start getting peeled off from Dany. The advisors, that it's not that she's just taking their advice and following their lead. She's taking everything and mixing it into what she wants to do. And so it's tough as a fan of Danny to watch what she has here and know that slowly, one layer by one layer, it's all going to be peeled away and pulled back from her there. Um, Oberyn's speech in his pursuit of vengeance and justice, definitely important stuff, and little foreshadowing when you go back and look at it. But we can talk about that on its own. Sansa dreaming of home and also rebuilding Winterfell. We got the great scene towards the end with little sweet Robin coming there and kicking Winterfell. He's so wonderful at being annoying. Great performance. So it's on the surface, and I love that at the time there were a lot of those theories that here we go, Sansa's gonna rebuild Winterfell, and that theory came true. I don't necessarily think that this particular scene was meant for that. I think that's one of the things when you look at shows that have a lot of those theories and prophecies, and if you're just looking for those, you're going to miss the bigger points of the story. And obviously, this clear point here of just Sansa missing home, something that we've seen with Arya, Arya staring off at the twins before the wed wedding, and being so close. To right, to the wedding, but so close to home, so close to Starks, and have it all whisked away. Here's Sansa so far away, in the snow, in the Eyrie, dreaming of home. So there's the kind of the big point of the scene, but it does have absolutely have a little bit of foreshadowing of building the ice castles, the snow castle of a version of Winterfell, and what that will mean and where Sansa ends up. It's always fun to see that. She says that line, "I'll never see it again." Well, that we know is not true. And Baelish talking about his insights. It kind of ties into the bigger themes, but I love his line right here. If you want to build a better home, first you must demolish the old one. And I view that as a little bit of that Kylo Ren energy of destroy the past, kill it if you have to, which is not healthy. It's not good. So nothing super solid about Baelish's philosophy here. I actually think it's wrong. You want to build from the past, grow with it, change it, and move it forward, which is a little bit of how you're looking at Daenerys in the stuff with Jorah here. It's kind of what Jorah's preaching the opposite of this. We're not going to tear it all down just to build the new one. We need to work with what's there. We need to work with the people. We need to build something entirely new out of what exists and what we want. And here's Baelish going, "Oh yeah. I just burn it all to the ground." The old he'd be king of the ashes type of philosophy. So even that and seeing taking this little moment, this little line, and playing it forward in the show is interesting. A little bit of foreshadowing here. So many wonderful scenes in this episode. I think because you could focus so much, and understandably so, on the Oberyn and Tyrion stuff a little bit later on. I do love the Oberyn, the Tyrion and Jaime stuff in the first scene of this episode here. And this great conversation, Jaime being upset. Remember, we've just had all of you go to hell. I declare a trial by combat, and I don't care what happens to me moment from Tyrion. That's how episode 6 ends. But now we got Jaime mad at him. He'd worked this backroom deal with his father, which is what Tywin wanted from the beginning. And just I love Tyrion not wanting to let his father win. It says it felt good to take that from him. I love this moment for Tyrion, and I absolutely think he's right. And not that Jaime hadn't struck a smart deal and one that would have kept Tyrion alive, but in his view, what's going to the wall? That's a certain kind of death, and father wins. And I can't have father win. I'm tired of it. The stuff with Shay broke his heart, broke his will, but he still gets that win. So I just love that little follow up. It's a great little, especially if you watch the episodes back to back. Little moment I love. There's some little moments here for hot pie returning, and you cannot give up on the gravy. I think there's got to be shirts of that. If not, there should be aprons that we sell. HBO official store. You can get on that. I'm only 8 years after you should have had it. Love the hot pie. Was it Ben Hockey? Is that who? I always forget to look that up there, but he is. He's really wonderful as hot pie. Just absolutely has his own kind of special charisma and charm, and I love him back, and I love that we're not done with him. I love that we get a little bit. Ben Hockey plays hot pie. He said there's a great note here reading the Game of Thrones fandom wiki that they had cooked, they'd baked 70 separate direwolf bread loaves on that day of filming, and then pick the one that turned out best in that scene. We'll talk some about the themes that come out of that scene with Hot Pie, Pod, and Brienne. But just love having them there. And there's a great little line with Rorge and Biter's dead. Rorge is there, and Arya recognizes him, and Hound says, "He on your little list?" No, I don't have his name. What's your name? Rorge. Boom. She stabs him right in the heart, and you're learning. I love that exchange. There you go. There's some of the Hound and Arya sitcom energy that we love so much. The other thing I love, not a ton of Cersei in this episode. Definitely talked a lot about in the open scene. The only Cersei we really get is her walking over the disemboweled prisoners, probably slaves of the castle being tossed to the mountain there. Disgusting little moment, her walking over the bowels, but I love the exchange where she asked the mountain, "You ready for this? You look good. Welcome to the castle. Was your flight good? You're looking good." And he says, "Who am I fighting? Does it matter?" The mountain does that head shake. Love that little moment. We don't get a ton of dialogue from the old mountain here, but you don't need it. You don't need it. And that head shake said a lot. We're gearing up in a great way, of course, just the way this episode was structured. You gear up with Tyrion. He makes that move, takes the victory away from his father, and is just so certain that Jaime's going to be there for him. And Jaime, nope. Bronn, nope. That's what's running through this whole episode. But you set that up from the start. You got the mountain. So well written, just so well played, so well edited. Clearly, just that, like, who's Cersei got? Is it Maren Trant? I hope it's Maren Trant. Oh no, it's not Maren Trant. Then you cut the stuff with the mountain. Just a great 1-2 punch to start the episode, which just builds it up for what we get at the end with Oberyn. It's funny to think. I still even forget, even when I sat down to watch this episode, I still kind of forget that the Oberyn stuff does not end the episode. It is the Baelish stuff with Liza Aaron, and I think that's the right way. Again, this episode is called Mockingbird, and even though you only really get that Baelish stuff at the end, I think he drives a lot of what's going on in this episode. The lies of power, connection, protection, trust, all those things, and it all kind of flows into him. And we'll get to some of those lessons here in a second. But it's just such a testament again to that Oberyn theme, but also how this episode is structured. Tyrion doesn't have any help. He has no champion. Cersei's got this monster. We are setting ourselves up for a main event fight, and it ends with Oberyn in his wonderful speech. I keep talking about what I feel the themes, the big themes are in this episode, and I put it down. And there's always different ways to look at it, but I really gravitated to what I call this connection and protection, and how connection might be the best way to protect yourselves or to protect the ones you care about, protect your realm, protect the ones you love. Tyrion thought he had a bunch of connections. He does with his brother. He does with Bronn. But they're not going to protect him. He has to form a connection with Oberyn. Oberyn forms his own connection, and it's this connection based out of vengeance, and that is going to lead to protection. No, it doesn't actually, is what we end up learning. So there's that at play here. I love the line. There's that little moment when Tyrion's kind of getting into Jaime, needling him a little bit, mentions the Cersei stuff. Careful, I'm the last friend you got, and I think there's some truth to that. So is connection the best way to protect? Jorah's kind of putting that out there. I think Jon Snow's trying to put that out there. How to protect the wall. We gotta figure out the best way to protect ourselves here. How to protect Meereen. How to protect the Queen. I think Jorah's campaigning for some sort of connection, some sort of acknowledgement of the humans there behind it. And how do you build from that? I think he puts it out there. George is absolutely wondering if Daario can protect the Queen. Doesn't trust her, doesn't trust him, I should say, for good reason. But in the end, what he is also saying, I stumbled on that there, but yeah, he's not giving Dany her full respect, not giving Danny the full trust to make the decisions that she feels is right. Another example of it here, again, going to the great scene with the dying man. He has this great line of "There's no balance anymore," is something that he says there, and it kind of almost gets into that kind of Star Wars conversation of balance and the idea of there's the light and the dark, which exist and always exist, but there's people there who push the dark over on the light, and that's when you got to stand up and push the dark back. I actually think of what the dying man, played by Barry McGovern here, is saying is a little bit of that. This was always kind of the circle, the circle of violence we've always been stuck in here in this land. It's always part of it, but now it's completely out of balance. And now that thing when Hound asks at the top of the scene, "Who was it?" I stopped asking. I really think that is kind of playing into this theme of how can you protect the land when all this is going on and it's all out of balance? And maybe it is through some sort of connection with those around you. And I think you have a lot of that going on with Arya and the Hound in this episode. They he still says, he still introduces himself as the captor, as her captor, but by this point, it's clearly more than that, and clearly they are forming a connection. And so, anyways, all that to say, I don't want to get lost on that a little bit. I love the dying man here in this scene here. And again, Barry McGovern is an Irish actor who did a lot of work with like Samuel Beckett plays and everything. And that's where I was reading the note here. I'm trying to find a little more detail on here. Benioff Weiss actually, they brought him in. They knew of his work and brought him in for this scene. And it really works because he is this amazing performance here. And one of those things. Yeah, he did a lot of work with Waiting for Godot and all that kind of stuff, and they brought him in to here it is. They specifically named Barry McGovern for the role in the script. That they're fans of Samuel Beckett work, so they must have seen him perform there. So that's great. I love that there. Anyways, I just think he delivers some of the key parts of this episode, talking about what's going on the land and how how do you protect those around you and yourself in this world where there is no balance anymore. Is all there. Then we get Pod and Brienne in the dangerous game of trust with Hot Pie. Brienne ends up being proven right, if you will, in this scene, but I think you got to say Pod with his caution, and you never know who's listening. He's not wrong, but trust comes back to be what they both need here. And I love Hot Pie's line, "You seem like a proper lady, someone who can be trusted." So out of this connection comes what they hope will be some sort of protection, not just for themselves, but for the Aryas and Sansas of the world that they're trying to find there. All this kind of leads to the two big moments with Baelish and Oberyn. Pedro Pascal, first day on the set, like we said, just coming and delivering one of the best monologues in Game of Thrones, perhaps I'll say in all of television. That's why we love him so much around here. And I love, if you're looking at connection and protection, just such a moment, because we have learned now that as many suspected, especially if you're going into theories and looking into the little clues of the story, Baelish is at the center of it all. From even before the show or this story began, he was already working his little backroom plans and dealings and sowing the seeds of chaos. And we've already got the great chaos as a ladder speech behind us. He is behind it all. He is behind it all. And I remember at this time, not knowing where we were going, not knowing where we were ending up, I always thought that, Baelish had good odds to sit on the throne. What he'd be sitting on? A melted throne? The ashes around him? I don't know. But it just seemed to be, the dark horse pick. And a lot of people were rooting for Baelish. But here's this episode where, in an episode that's talking a lot about what connections do you actually have, how to make those connections and move forward to build a better land, to bring things back in balance, to change things, and to protect those around you and protect the realm here. You got Baelish, and his idea of protection is it's completely fatal, and it's only for himself. True chaos. All the connections he has are lies. That's why, again, you go back to that Melisandre Bath scene. She's saying it's all lies here. It's everything I'm selling here. Maybe one or two things are real. I don't even know anymore. They're all lies, just to get men to find a point of truth here. But for Baelish, he takes that and goes even one further. Everything he's saying, the connection with Lysa, it's a lie. He's saying the only true connection he had with Catelyn, but we know that's a lie because it was only from his point of view. Every allegiance, every house, he is truly his sigil, Mockingbird, the thing he created for himself. He created his own story. He created his own power, created his own connections, and they're all lies to serve him. And it almost works out. It almost works out. In the end, I think he's brought down a little bit by the connections others have and the connections that he has broken along the way. So it's interesting, again, to see that this is the title of the episode, Mockingbird, and why that is important. I really think you can look at this this great moment. I got nothing against Lysa Arryn. I think she's been wronged, but I think she's done some horrible things. But who hasn't in this land? Kate Dickie is so great in the role. I was at the time surprised at the death, but again, surprised that almost like that I didn't see it coming in watching the episode for the very first time. And reading in the story, I should say, too, that it's just, of course, this is what Baelish does. But I think that Baelish is so good, and Aidan Gillen particularly so good at selling his lies, that even I sometimes think, well, maybe this one's real. But no, all lies, great moment. Kate Dickie, again, this is her swan song here. She is so good, being just unhinged and terrifying in her own way because of that. The final thing, I just want to talk a little bit again of Oberyn. What about what I want is such a wonderful line, such a wonderful moment. And we can pull a lot of themes out of here, but I think the bigger things in this episode are the lessons we can learn from Oberyn, the good and the bad. But at this point, at the end of this episode and the end of our discussion here in this episode, I just absolutely think this is one of the true moments of victory in the show. It's going to be unfortunately crushed an episode later, but this is a rousing speech. I remember having tears in my eyes. Tyrion is crying. If you don't want justice, you've come to the wrong place. All that stuff. Great moment. Pedro Pascal, absolutely. If you didn't love him already and you were watching this, you got to love him now. You're there. The music swells. He stands. I will be a champion. It's so good. It is so good. So we don't need to even worry about the themes and lessons. Let's just enjoy this moment. Let's enjoy it. And in our minds wonder what would have happened if he had just been seeking a little bit more justice than vengeance. We'll talk about that the next time out. Thanks for listening or watching Casterly Talk. It's a hot day in my studio, so I can't talk as long as I normally do, which is okay. You don't need all my ramblings. Just go back and watch more Game of Thrones. You can follow me at Ken Napzok if you want to go get more information on the things I do. You can support by going to my website, kennapzok.com. Got some upcoming comedy dates. You can get my book, Why We Love Star Wars. Also other things over there for you as well. We do have a Facebook page. You can like that, Casterly Talk. You can give us a follow on M Drive Media, Morning Drive Media, where we tweet out stuff about this show. A lot more coming here on Casterly Talk. The podcast going strong. Go ahead and subscribe, rate and review wherever you find your podcasts. Also, don't forget, if you just listen to the podcast, we do have a YouTube channel. You can go find that. Subscribe over there if you want. Even if you're not really if you're not watching a video, you don't care about my face. I don't care about my face. Give us a sub over there. We are going to be doing some YouTube exclusive content over there. So that's why I want to let you all know about that. All right. That is it for this week. We're out of here. Season 4, Episode 7, Mockingbird, in the books here on the Casterly Talk Game of Thrones Rewatch.